Thank you. We don't have, this is kind of typically a slow week for us, except for we have a bunch of winter weather to report. We've been going back and forth. We have nothing on your consent agenda. Construction's kind of where it's at. I'll turn over design to Seth, and then I'll give you an update on the winter activities.
So in road design, we've got a few projects waiting WashDOT approval to go to add. We'll be sending you guys the supplements to obligate the construction funding within the next week or two after they get done reviewing the drafts. And hopefully we can be out to add first month of next year. And that's the safety projects and the bridge painter.
Okay, we'll go right to maintenance. East End is pretty much, we've got compact snow and ice in areas. Some areas are clear. It just varies depending on where you're at. It's the West End that's more of a concern. We have flooding in Glenwood. We had to hire a contractor to sit on the bridge in town because the bridge is low, and if the water's right at the bottom part of the bridge, any debris or anything that hooks the bridge will cause it to back up and go into the post office and a house that sits next to the post office. So we've hired a contractor. He's sitting there because our backhoe and our equipment's heading out to Latigus Bridge, where we have the water is about 50% flowing under the bridge. Some of it's flowing around the bridge. We're going to go out, try to get some of the debris out of the way. And Trout Lake Highway is also flooded over. We don't know exactly. Seth and I are going to go out and look at it this afternoon, see where we stand with where we're at with the flooding. And it's still raining over there.
Where's Trout Lake Highway flooding at?
Where's the flooding?
Over by Trout Lake Highway. It's over by Glenwood. Just outside of Glenwood. On Fraser Creek. That Fraser
Okay.
Creek.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, so we have Fraser Creek and Bird Creek are both a typical flooding. It's nothing new. It's just
We're testing the new flood maps.
we're giving them a shot, see how they work. We're also going to go check at the Pioneer Center. Our guy comes in at the Pioneer if we have 2 inches of snow. We don't really have 2 inches of snow. We don't bring him in to clear off the slush. We can, if that's what the board would prefer. He's at $158 an hour. We typically don't do it, especially if there's no event there like today. It's a Tuesday. If it was a Monday or a Wednesday, we might have done that if they were having meals, but we didn't do it. And I don't bring people in to clear the sidewalks off on overtime. Because they come in at 5. We have one person there and he's shoveling everything off. So I just wanted to let you guys know we're on top of it at the Pioneer Center. I've been communicating with the facility supervisors since about 6. He sent 2 more guys down this morning to help clean up.
I got no problem with that. The rain's gonna wash all that 2 inches of snow away later today anyway.
Okay. Other than that, everything is kind of the same. Dallasport Community Center, I'm going to get down and take a look at that. The floor covering was installed last week, so I want to see. We're going to put that all together this week, and so that will be done in the bathrooms. And one other item on the follow-up is our maintenance. We got the letter from our maintenance tech. We knew he was going to be retiring January 9th. He just gave us the formal letter on, I believe it was Tuesday last week or Wednesday. So we'd like to refill that position if we could. We We used to have 4 full-time people there. We went to a seasonal person there. So I believe we have 3 full-time people and a seasonal person in Glenwood now. And this is one of our full-time people.
You okay with that, Mr. Anderson?
Of course.
You're good?
Thank you. I don't think, we don't have anything else unless you guys.
Well, just the winter weather.
Just the winter weather, which I heard you had snow plows out on Christmas night and people were appreciative of the county working on a holiday.
We did. Our guys are starting, I'm hoping to get a break in the weather. Our guys are starting to get tired. They were out Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I hate when they're out Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I really do. But they were out. They needed to be to get people through. So people could get to and from. But it's still a struggle on some of the secondary roads.
As I say, everything facing north.
Yes.
My road, the minute you come off the north part, there's skating rink the whole way to the bottom. So, but yeah.
Yeah, please give all your guys our appreciation. I've only heard really great things. I've only seen really great things on Facebook. Let them know.
I would agree.
Thank you.
That's it?
Yep.
All right, well, that's it, I guess.
That's almost a new record, isn't it?
I know. I still miss the days they were breathing heavy when they came in because they had to run from down the tree, so.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day
You too.
and have a Merry Christmas or Happy New Year.
Well, we are way ahead. Mr. Rob, got anything to?
Please let the penalty box know there's no mic back there.
Right. There will be a mic stand on the podium here coming up. Do we want to reach out to Mr. McClure and see if he can?
Yeah, let's do that, please.
We'll give Georgia heads up too.
Yep. Guess we could probably recess and save some video recording space. But the minute we do that, they'll probably walk back down again.
We can just turn the, we don't need to recess, but we can just turn the recording off.
I see Mr. McClure, so they're close.
Morning.
Good morning again, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, we have Economic Development Natural Resources Director Dave McClure for Department Update.
Yes, thank you. I guess we're gonna let Whitney go first, as you're aware. She's accepted a position with the Forest Service and will be.
Quitter. Quitter. I said quitter. She heard it.
I expect the plaque. I expect the plaque.
I didn't expect.
You're not
such from
allowed.
you.
We will not sign your resignation.
So the first week of January will be her last week with us. She's been a pleasure to work with, very dependable, very good work product. Yeah, will be missed. But anyway, lead off.
Yeah. Well, thanks,
I
Dave.
hope your new endeavor is very successful and you're happy with it, but we are sorry to see you go.
Yeah, likewise, I'm sad to leave. It's been a great place to work, and Dave's been great to work with, and the guidance from the commissioners has been appreciated too. So I'll be just on the west end, so you'll know where to find me. You know who to call when you're having issues with the forester.
Right.
But jumping into our updates for today, the first is on the Dry Butler Creek project. The Conservation District was able to get our stream gauges stabilized. We've been trying to get that accomplished here for several months. So hopefully they should hold up better to high stream flows, which we typically get usually starting this time of year, especially when we have snow and then rain on top of it. So hopefully those gauges will hold strong now for the last year of data collection. We're finishing up, we're in our final water year of collecting data for that grant, and a draft report with the updated hydrographs and basin yields is due to Ecology in March of 2024. So we're entering the final phase of this grant, and hope to have refined basin yields for those creeks at the end of the grant. So it's moving along, which is good. We've had a lot of hiccups with data collection, so.
Fits and starts.
Yeah. And then I've had a preliminary discussion with the Conservation District about the opportunity possibly to extend monitoring in those drainages beyond the end of the grant, and that would be funded just possibly with county dollars. Very early conversations about that.
Yes, we would like to have a couple of years, solid data. And because of issues with the gauges getting blown out and such, it's not as consistent as we'd like.
Yeah, so that option does exist, and the Conservation District is open to it if we wanted to pursue that.
Will we have enough data for the QAP and to get us our yield curves that we expect off of that?
We think so. It's just the data has been intermittent, and so getting additional years data could help fill some of those gaps and give us a stronger confidence in the results. Moving on to the Klickitat Mill and the Snyder Creek Restoration Project that the Fisheries Group is working on. They successfully installed monitoring wells on the county parcel last week. They just beat the weather that came in. And so they actually had a senior geologist from Aspect with them when they drilled the wells, and they didn't find anything weird looking in the well cores. So that's good. Everything looked clean and normal. So those monitoring wells are now in place, and they'll be collecting groundwater data for the duration of the grant period. They do want to schedule a meeting in February with county staff to go over the data they've collected thus far and restoration alternatives. They have a draft of a hydrologic flow model that they've developed for the site. So I'm coordinating with Public Works, and we're looping in Dave and Richard so that meeting in February can happen. And planning can move forward on the site in conjunction with whatever redevelopment plans the county has.
Please include me for that meeting as well.
Okay. Will do. Okey doke. And then moving on to the Simcoe CRM, that group is still finalizing the management plan for the property. It's getting really close. We're working on the last chapter. Right now they're targeting a February public release of the draft for that, of the management plan for more of an informal public comment period. And then the plan itself will go out for SEPA, hopefully by March. The group is really pushing to get that draft finished as early as possible, because as soon as spring rolls around and field season starts, it's really hard to get people's time. We had scheduled a public meeting, or we were going to schedule a meeting in January for the public to be able to come and learn about the process and what the management plan entails, but that's had to be pushed back because the draft isn't ready for review. So that will be rescheduled if and when we get a more solid draft prepared. And then the Conservation District and Fish and Wildlife are still negotiating on the conservation easement and management of timber and grazing. Conservation District has a copy of the proposed conservation easement, but they have to go through the legal review of that. And so from the county perspective, we've just continued to advocate for co-management and for the CDs to be part of the management of those properties, since they're more in tune with local perspectives and local needs for those properties. And then moving on to the lead entity. So we're headed into the legislative session, as everyone knows. The Recreation and Conservation Office in their legislative request included a request for more lead entity capacity grant funding, which is the grant that funds my time and Dave's time and Lynn's time to coordinate the lead entity. In the proposal as written, our funding would jump from $60,000 annually to $88,584 annually for fiscal years 24 and 25. So more to come to see if that budget stays put or and that the request is granted. And then I'm also just been gearing up for the 2023 grant round to try and help whoever comes into my position after me hit the ground running and have things queued up. So we have a draft of the grant round calendar that's ready to circulate. We just got our site visit dates confirmed. And then I've also started to recruit projects for the 2023 grant round. We're expecting another high funding year. We have rollover funds from last year, plus RCO included a higher legislative request as well for these projects. So we could have anywhere between $986,000 to $1.1 million in funding for local projects. So I'm doing a lot of outreach and recruitment with project sponsors. I'm planning to talk with Public Works later this week to see if we have any county projects that might be eligible. So it's a big grant round, so I'm hoping we can get a lot of folks on board and projects on board. And then last is just a general update on wolf activity within the county. We know that the most recent update from Fish and Wildlife is that we have 2 wolves traveling in and around Klickitat County, kind of bopping back and forth between here and Yakima. But we were seeing a lot of scheduled activity from WDFW. So they hosted a wildlife conflict workshop in December with a lot of our local grazers and ranchers. And then they're also holding the Wolf Advisory Group state meeting in Goldendale on January 4th and 5th. So while we haven't heard a whole lot, signs are, I think, somewhat pointing to increased activity locally. So as we hear more, we'll keep everyone in the loop, but
Did they give a general area for the?
not really. Yeah, they won't give us any details on where the wolves have been. I'm sure people have seen them,
Yeah.
other people aside from me, but yeah. But just, yeah, just seems like writing's on the wall a little bit on that one to me. That's all I've got.
All right. Any questions on natural resources?
Did you turn your mic off, Dan? You were really far away there.
Fine.
Okay, I have no questions. I tend to interrupt and ask mine throughout.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
I would like to say thank you, though, for your years of service, Whitney. You've done a great job, and I've only heard great things from your coworkers and people throughout the state.
Thanks, Jake, and thanks for the training. I had a lot of questions for you and he was with me all the way. So.
Just remember to pass it on.
That's right. I'm trying.
Good morning, commissioners. Happy holidays. So just an update on some of the projects that we have in the, that we have out there. Still working on the earmark request with the regional airport. With MCED, we're currently in a holding pattern with the Brownsfield program for the community planning efforts for the whole region. Whitney did a great job already talking about the Klickitat mill site, so I'll just scan over that. For the infrastructure site readiness grant, this was a grant to remind you gentlemen with the Port of Klickitat that we assist with to help them basically getting their sites out down there at the Dallasport Industrial Park shovel ready. We're still waiting for that, whether or not we were approved or not. Infrastructure project list. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been to all of our cities as well as our airport and our port to talk about the infrastructure project list, our annual countywide project list that we utilize for the department. So the workforce development project, I still have two large ones that I'm working on. And then I just have another one that just came onto my plate within the last week, targeting 4 to 5 new hires. This one, we're gonna be utilizing come to worker training dollars. So I'm still fishing around between whether or not I can utilize Southwest Washington Workforce Council or the South Central Workforce Council. So the company I'm assisting is gonna be on the west end for that. For the community development project funds, the Grange-Shaw contract, that's been, that's been signed and everything, but they're gonna come back and request another $3,000 for the remainder of that gap financing here shortly, at the end of January. What they're looking for that is they're looking for our KC meeting is gonna be January 24th, which is when they're gonna request the remaining $3,000 for that. They're gonna try and start the project January 23rd. They're looking at it having to be completed middle of February. So that's where we're at with that.
Did they end up getting any match?
They have not been able to. So,
So they came in with what, 25,000?
yeah, they came in with 30,000. We gave them 5,000 from the community development project funds. And there was still $3,000 short. And then for the 0.09 funds, we have an amendment for you gentlemen for the wastewater treatment plant for the city of Goldendale. But that's going to be submitted next week along with the amendment for that work to be completed by the end of next year. So and that's, and to remind you, that's for the preliminary engineering for that wastewater treatment.
That amendment's a time extension only. It's not
Yeah.
an increase in funding.
Can you guys remind me how much we put in our budget for the community development funds?
Oh,
Did nobody?
that would be Lee.
I'll look it back up later. That's fine. What about 09 funds? How much do we get back from the state on that? Any ballpark in top of my, without looking?
Lynn, last week told me we got about 600,000 this year. I've not seen the numbers. So it was another high year, but I can verify that.
No need. I just ballpark in my head is all I needed, a little refresher. Good enough.
Okay. All right. And the only other economic development things I've got, the final environmental impact statement was issued last week for the Goldendale Pump Storage Project, still reviewing that. The high-level summary that I did manage to get read indicated that much like the draft EIS, there are no environmental impacts that aren't mitigatable and still concerns with potential impacts of tribal resources and not being able to come up with a mitigation package acceptable to the tribes. So that's there. And just to let you know, we remind you that we got a request for about 120,000 from the Affordable Housing Fund, which would deplete the budget or our balance there for work on the Rhine Village. We also have a request. It's a follow-up to a promise for 40,000 for the domestic violence shelter that the board made back in 2019. That got stalled out because of COVID and they were looking for a place. So I've still got to address those things here pretty quick this year. But they haven't fallen off my plate. Been moved around a little bit.
And does those requests, I'm assuming, have to come back before this board for approval?
Yes.
Questions, comments, Mr. Anderson?
We ran 17, so we don't know what was promised.
You were breaking up. We have no idea what you just said.
Sorry about that, you know.
Kind of.
I'll reserve my comments then.
Okay. That one came over crystal clear. Everything else was lagging internet speed. So, okay, continues.
That's
That's
it.
it?
Yeah.
That's it. He'll reserve his comments apparently still, so.
Okay.
No, keep going on what you're doing.
And just maybe to note that we have advertised for the economic development specialist position, the new one. First review is scheduled to take, the 6th. Is when we're doing our first review on that. So
Yeah.
waiting on resumes. So we got 2 positions open ones.
I was gonna say, between the two, hopefully you find some quality applicants out there
Yeah,
in time.
all righty.
Okay,
That's it. Thank you.
thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We have left messages with George. Lisa's gonna go call. This is what you've got in there. You had requested that much.
But I'm curious what cause that was the park thing. We put X number in there for other things. Is that all we did, period?
So there should be the 150 for the park stuff. And
Right.
then everything above that is what we usually put in, right?
I don't see it above that though.
No.
Shouldn't it push it to 200?
Normally, last year it was amended at 22,500. And so when we put the 150 in, we didn't put it at 172,500. So it just,
I think we should ask Jen about that. I thought there might be 2 places.
Historically, I would have put in 50. And then when your discussions, you guys talked about going to the 150. I can ask Jen to.
right,
or
yeah,
Lisa,
just to
I'll-
double check, because to me it was 2 separate, let's call them 2 different funds in the same bars number. Because it was gonna be the standard, what we normally do for people that ask for community development stuff. And then the park money sitting there parked until needed. We just might have missed it and not put the regular in there. So I think there's only, I want to say, if I remember right from KC there's only about 5,000 left in fund balance. Anyway. So we are awaiting code compliance officer to show up in his update. She run up there to see if he's up there? Is that what? No ideas? No ideas. Interesting. But we are ahead of schedule, so it is.
While we're waiting, do you have anything for board pending?
Let me look. I did notice for staff that the board appointments to various boards and commissions on our website, the names of those appointments are outdated. And need updated. We haven't done it in a couple of, okay.
We've got a lot of appointments being redone, reappointed, coming up.
Yeah, were we going to put a new newspaper article about all the open positions?
We've never done a newspaper article. If you'd like one, we can.
Yeah, I think,
Sorry, it's hard to hear.
yeah, she said that they've never done a newspaper article, but if we'd like one, they can. I remember when we started it and I plastered it all over Facebook and Didn't get a lot of response. But if that's something that the board chooses to, advertise for that, we can. I was just looking and some of the names were old and their terms were expired and I don't even remember why I was looking. I'll give you a little bit of an update. I did meet with Jeff Hunter on Title 12 road standards. He does plan on having that completed shortly and submitting that to us with state law and any recommendations that are over state law so that we can make a policy decision. And then, yeah, we already talked about burn ban. I guess I can give you a smidge of an update about the opioid money that, if you haven't heard yet, isn't what we were thinking it was. There was a decimal point problem. Decimal point needed to go one more to the left. So, so I believe there's other counties out there that were advised like us. The math still doesn't work because even then it's whatever, 24,600, and then the first year is a double payment. But I have not been able to talk to finance this morning, but when I talked to them last week, the numbers we received were well short of that even. So for something's going on, the math doesn't work. So we're gonna have to look back into that dollar amount and think and justify, look at better what the administrative part of that grant is going to be, or those funds are going to be, and or the audit portion of them. Because if that's all the state is gonna dole out is 13,000 or 16,000, it may or may not pencil. So more to
Were
come.
we told by the state that it was gonna be the right, the decimal point was one to the right, or did we make that accounting error?
I am going to take full credit for that, but in the Zoom videos that we went through back in the early stages when they needed 97% of the counties to affiliate and sign off on this. Well, I'm gonna just say that I think a lot of us might have been used the wording needed to get us to sign off on it. To get my gist. So I do feel like we were misled on what our number was. And I don't think we're the only county that had a decimal point error, if you get my gist. But yes, it's something that should have been double checked, and that's why I said I'll take full responsibility.
Well, it is what it is, and it's too late now.
I've already, well, we don't have to take the funds. But we will get into that. It still may pencil to use them for grant match for something else. I've already had a discussion with adult probation this morning, letting them know that the funds are not there. So we will just have to work forward through this, and hopefully later today I'll get time to sit with finance and try to figure out why the math that is documented math in Amendment B of that settlement does not match the numbers that the state distributed. So there's a whole nother line of questioning that needs to be gone through so we can figure out what's actually going on.
It seems too good to be true. It always is.
Sometimes. And I think that's all I have.
I just mentioned that we had our last finance committee meeting this morning to get the sign off on all of the minutes so that when you step into that position in January, you'll be brand and not have to worry about anything that we got going. But we do need to talk about the other position, you know, working with finance software and who we want to serve on.
Yeah. We'll wait and have that discussion next week with the new board as well.
Yep.
So. Other than that, what do we want to wait around for George, or do we want to?
We've got phone calls into him, emails. We did correspond earlier today, so I know he's here.
The only thing I can think of is just recessing until 11, and it shows up at 11, we'll restart at 11. With that, I would take a motion for, let's hang on to that too, real quick. Do you have something for us, sir?
Planning said George wrote on the board, he's not due back until 11:40, so. And they don't have his contact, so I'm assuming you guys have his work cell. But he wrote on the job board, he was gonna be the other end of the county. Till 11:40, I think. So I don't know if he's planning on being back for the 11:30.
Communicated last week, so I think
He should know.
And he might, maybe that's what he's planning coming back, but
That would be my recommendation, is that we recess until 11 o'clock. If he's here, fine. If not, we'll recess for lunch and hit 11 o'clock. So with that, I would seek a motion for recess until 11 o'clock, sir.
All right, I'd move we recess for 20 minutes.
All right, I will step down and second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. So we are now at recess and we'll be. All right, we are back from recess. It is 11 o'clock. We still do not have our code compliance officer in the room. Staff is reaching out to our afternoon update from adult probation to see if they would like to come over this morning. So we'll hear that, and if they do, great, and if they don't, we'll recess.
Dan, could you put your mic a little closer?
Is that better? Ooh, that's too close. Sorry, I might have forgot to turn it back on again. So still don't have code compliance in the room, so staff is going to reach out to adult probation, who is on the afternoon agenda, and see if they can come over early, and I just got the answer back as no. So we have nothing further for this morning, so technically we can recess for lunch and come back at 1 o'clock. And if code compliance shows up, they can either sneak into the afternoon or reschedule.
Sounds fine to me. With that, I'd make a motion to recess till 1 o'clock unless our somebody in the audience would like to say anything.
Hearing nothing, I will step down and second that motion. All those in favor of recessing for lunch and being back at 1 o'clock, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We will see everybody back at 1 o'clock. Righty, it is 1 o'clock. We will open with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Guess I probably should turn my mic on. All right. Let the record show that both commissioners are present. Commissioner Christopher's in the room, Commissioner Anderson is on Zoom, and Commissioner Sauter is away. With that, we'll move on to the business agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we approve the business agenda with the change that Director Quinn will not be giving a presentation.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I will step down and second that motion. All those in favor of approving the business agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have no commissioner meeting minutes. So we will move on to citizen comment. Citizen comment will be 3 minutes. At the start of your citizen comment, please state your name and general location for the record. We'll start in the room. Anybody have citizen comment for us today? We do have one. Step forward, sir. Make sure those mics are green down there.
Good afternoon, Chair Christopher, Commissioner Anderson, and Commissioner-elect Zoller. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. Comments today really focus, my name's Dave Bart, I'm from Goldendale. My comments today focus really on the question of how prepared our county is to facilitate growth and change, particularly in the solar energy realm, but also regarding general growth and development. Recently, I've taken some time to review the critical areas ordinance, which is still in draft form, and the Klickitat County Natural Resources State, Federal, and Local Coordination Plan. The Coordination Plan ordinance was developed in the late 90s, updated significantly in 2007, as you all know, set out as its purpose the preservation of the customs and cultures of the Klickitat Valley and with Klickitat County as a way to protect our rural and agricultural heritage while managing reasonable growth. One statement that appears repeatedly in the document in each policies section is, to the maximum extent provided in law, Klickitat County requires that federal and state agencies coordinate with the county and its adopted plans and ordinances pertaining to natural resource matters. All types of county growth affect natural resource matters. And of course, industrial scale solar certainly provides the most stark abandonment of the county's spoken high regard of its natural resources. With respect to the critical areas ordinance, though the county has spent a significant amount of a sum of money on a total rewrite of this ordinance, its present available draft form doesn't fulfill the aim originally set in rewriting it. Among other things, it's not clear that private utility companies will not have the exception rights of public utilities and public agencies. That should be spelled out in crystal clear language, especially with the pressure bearing on the county from so many industrial solar developers. There are other snags as well. Read the part about the removal of hazard trees. Does the planning department have so much time available? They're going to drive out to locations all over the county near waterways that have a hazard tree. Perhaps one day we'll issue safety permits, giving people the right to live safely. I recommend commissioners call the State Department of Commerce representative, find out what the CAO actually needs before the county takes another step. As the new year approaches, I request the county commissioners place a pause on approval of large-scale planning department projects until we as a county can decide if the values stated in our adopted ordinance 102797 regarding coordination of governments actually are our values or not. And I ask the commissioners to reach out to the State's Department of Commerce to see where our county actually stands on critical areas ordinance before the present draft is considered for approval. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I have a couple of excerpts from the documents that I mentioned that I will leave at the sidebar.
Still got 35 seconds if you want them.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we will go online. Is anybody online have citizen comments? Please raise your hand. Unmute yourself. Wave at us on the camera, what have you, if you have a citizen comment.
Commissioners.
Okay, I see Ruby. Go ahead, Ruby.
Thank you, Commissioner Christopher. I'm not here looking for answers to any of the questions I may ask, and I'm not here looking for the board to provide me with any clarity or closure. I am only here for two reasons. The first is to say that your decision to exercise a nuclear option this past April was devastating and cruel. No matter what my character defects were or whatever my failings were, perceived or otherwise, I did not deserve what I got. The last 5 years spent in building a department that substantially benefited this entire county didn't need to be erased and tossed in the trash because of some secret boundary I may have crossed or because someone didn't like me. Being confronted with the reality that I, as your direct employee, and that I, as a person, held little value to this board has and continues to be a difficult struggle for me. I don't like the dark little box I find myself in, stuck in this loop of self-sabotage that I wake up to every day, and this feeling of hatred and anger that boils up at every turn. Not knowing how I failed this board or how I failed myself and others is a deadly baggage that I don't need to carry into 2023. So today I leave it here by saying that in all reality, at the end of the day, commissioners, it wasn't so much me having failed you, but of you having failed me. The second is to thank Commissioner Sauter and his previous seatmates for having honored me with the opportunity to live and work in what I consider to be the most beautiful place on earth. Regardless of what part you may have had, Commissioner Sauter, in my departure, I still hold you in high regard for how you held yourself as a commissioner. No matter where we find ourselves today, I know I can sit here and tell you that I did exactly what I was hired to do. I know this because my contributions to the solid waste program can be quantified by the legislative part I played in the restoration of millions of dollars, 14 million to be exact, to the solid waste funding that had been reduced to 10 million a decade before. It can also be quantified by the millions of dollars Klickitat County saved as a direct result of my interactions with Republic Services. Qualitatively, what I created as your solid waste director was a department that stood out above most other programs in the state, setting the gold standard in implementing mandates, community outreach, grant administration, and the metrics in which to measure tangible and quantifiable outcomes. I wish you all of the best in your new endeavor, and may you, the board, the new board, Commissioner Christopher and Commissioner Anderson, I do wish you both peace and joy in the upcoming year. And I hope that the remaining part of your seats be full of successes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Irving. I am going to take a brief moment here to give a little chairman prerogative. I will answer part of this statement right now. That I do agree with you that when your employment was removed with the county, that I wish, and I still wish today, that the county could have had better dialogue and I guess explained why. But we were advised legally that that would be a bad decision. And so unfortunately, that leaves you with not knowing why. And that's a terrible thing for you to have to go through. So although I cannot tell you why now either, I hope you understand that I do feel like you should know why. With that, we'll go back in the room. Anybody in the room for citizen comment? Seeing none, we'll go back online. Anybody online, citizen comment, please raise your hand, unmute yourself, wave on your video. I see Sherry. Go ahead, Sherry.
Good afternoon, commissioners. And congratulations, I guess, is coming to our new Commissioner Zoller. I appreciated what I just heard Mr. Barta say, and I echo a lot of what he's saying. This industrial solar is not just solar in people's backyards, and it's not just solar panels on our roofs. This industrial solar is the renewable energy plan for our future. And as we've seen in countries around us, in local states, Texas and California, who's moved to renewables, their energy has gone up in rates and the renewables are not sustainable. That's just the reality of renewable energy, especially with solar. Up in Washington, I'm sorry, it cracks me up. I just don't understand how much sun they really think we're getting up here when we all need to take more vitamin D because we don't get enough sun. But with that said, I hope that with the new commission, we can be thought of as allies to our county. I've only been involved with this solar because I care. I care about this county I moved to. I care about the decision we made to move to a rural area to enjoy the beauty of the rural, to escape the rat race of the city. And I'd like to remind you that these are private corporations. These are corporations that are owned by foreign entities. They don't have Klickitat County and our farmers and our land and our beauty in mind when they want to set up tens of thousands of acres of industrial solar. So I hope as we move into the new year, I hope that we can all see that we love this county, that we want the best for this county. We want our farmers to thrive. We want our ranchers to thrive. We want our economy to thrive. And hopefully we can get on the same boat as, the same page as a county and see what's really needed for this county to be a successful county. What industry can we bring in here? What jobs can we really provide people? What healthy development can we really do and where? So thank you for putting up with me. I would say this to Sauter, Commissioner Sauter, excuse me. I would say this, but I look forward to the new year and the new commissioner and us moving forward to work together in what is best for the people of Klickitat County, the environment of Klickitat County, and the future of Goldendale. It's such a beautiful city, and I love the drive from Glenwood to Goldendale and back again to Glenwood. It's just so beautiful with its mountains and its farms and grains and cattle. And I hope we can stay there and not let foreign entities come in to our county and demand of us to destroy our farmlands, to put toxic panels on there. I hope we look at this seriously. And thank you for the time.
Thank you, Sherry. You must have your own clock running at your house. That was absolutely perfect. I appreciate your testimony today, by the way. Just thought I would point that out. It was very thoughtful and thorough. Anybody else for public testimony in the room? Nope, we'll go back online again. Anybody online have public testimony they would like to present? Not seeing anyone. Please raise your hand, unmute yourself, wave at the screen. Throw a shoe. I don't know. Still seeing none. Commissioner Anderson, do you have any responses or would you like to wait, sir?
I see that someone, Nathine, is unmuted online.
I'm not seeing that. Usually they pop to the top of our screen. I don't think they have a mic connection. Anybody out there on public testimony that would like to give to the Klickitat County Board of Commissioners? Still seeing none. Well, I guess with that, we'll get to this big giant pile of paperwork. If you have public comment that you would like to give to the board, please just unmute yourself or raise your hand. Staff will keep an eye on what's going on there and holler at me if somebody raises their hand. Still in public comment. If anybody has public comment, please raise your hand or unmute yourself and speak up. Oh, we have one, 7211. Go ahead, 7211.
This is Greg Wagner with Cease. I'd like to say Cease has been around now for over 2 years. We've educated all the citizens and our commissioners about the pitfalls of industrial solar in our county. It brings very little to our county other than destruction of the beauty, the habitat and the environment, the livelihood and the lives and the enjoyment of people's lives who are going to be impacted by this. Can't allow tens of thousands of acres of productive farmland to be covered by industrial solar panels so that the solar companies benefit. As it's been said earlier, several of them are from different countries. They don't care what happens in Klickitat County. We want our leadership to care about what happens in Klickitat County and represent us and not the solar companies. I'm asking you to step up and let's finally do the right thing. Let's put a moratorium in place. Let's develop solar ordinances that protect all the citizens in the entire county. We can't pick and choose by having a solar ordinances for the east side and the west side because we're told those are different. We have CAO, Shoreline Master Plan. We have an EOZ. They all cover the entire county. We need to have ordinances that cover the entire county and protect the safety, health, and welfare of all the citizens. We can no longer ignore this problem. It's only going to continue to grow. And it's within our jurisdiction, within our county, with our leadership, to make sure if we have to have it, that it grows responsibly and happens in the right spot where it does the least amount of harm, doesn't hurt people's property values, the way of life, the sellability of their property, and the enjoyment of their property. We all came here, many of us came here because we love the beauty of it. And that's the way we want it to remain. Time for all the commissioners and people that can make the right decisions to protect the citizens to step up and do that. So let's start the new year out and let's do what's right for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. That was a very good testimony, and I appreciate that testimony. Anybody else have citizen comment, want to make testimony to the Board of Commissioners? Commissioner-elect Zoller, it's your last opportunity as a free woman to speak. She's fine, she says. Thank you very much. Anybody online have citizen comment, please unmute yourself. Wave to us, say something. We actually do care what you have to say, so. Speak about anything you want that pertains to the county. That's the only condition. Seeing none. I will go back to my seatmate. Commissioner Anderson, do you have anything you'd like to say about what you heard today?
Thank you, Commissioner Christopher. And thank you to everyone who provided public comment today. As we wrap up this year, I have to say that everyone has been very polite, very kind, and in the spirit of the holidays with how they've communicated and commented today. I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas belatedly and a very Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to starting out this new year with our new Commissioner Zoller sitting next to us. And with Mr. Barta, thank you for your comments as always. They drive us all to think more deeply and to think about the actions and sometimes the inactions that happen. I've, of course, reviewed the Natural Resources Coordination Plan in 2007, and it took me back to when that was written originally and the reason for it. And that was because we had state and federal governments that were running completely roughshod over the counties and not caring one whit about the county concerns. They didn't take it into account. It is kind of a toothless beast for most because still we are a subdivision state government. But whenever we can, and we always have, I remember working in natural resources, every chance we got to use that with regards to communication with our federal and state partners, that was put in there and that was instituted. The problem is that very often they have a plan and they're going to enact it and they're going to move on it. And us in our local areas, we're kind of pushed off to the side. I think we'll probably see things like that happen with regards to Yakima County and the solar projects, but that's yet to be determined. But again, that's where we're at. And with regards to the critical areas ordinance, I would love to respond to you, Mr. Barta. I have reviewed the documents that have been put forward so far, but of course, because it's going to be coming in front of us, I wouldn't feel it's appropriate to respond today to that. I do hope that in the new year, the new with new updated members continue to work on the CAO and notice and know the difference between what is required by law and what goes above and beyond and what we would like to see locally. Ruby, thank you so much. I wish for you all of the peace and joy and happiness in your life, in your family, and your health as you move forward. I'm very happy for your new position with the state, and I hope that we can work together in a positive and productive manner. Again, it's as Commissioner Christopher was saying, the way we're required to do business nowadays is not the way I would prefer to do business. It's not the way I would prefer to do business. But again, that's the way we're stuck with anymore. And I see the toll it takes on people. I see this toll it takes on the community and previous employees, and everything I wish could be different. I wish it were. But again, I wish you all the peace and joy in your future endeavors. With regards to Sherry, thank you for your kind and considerate words. I want you to know that we, at least would love our rural way of life, our ranching, and our history, our diverse history. And I look to ensuring that our history in this county and the choices that people would like to do with their land continue into the future. We are a rural county. I believe in private property rights. I believe in people's self-determination to do what they wish on their land, so long as it does not harm their neighbors. And with regards to the beauty of our rural area, we all live here. This is paradise. And with regards to Greg, sorry, Commissioner Christopher, I'm taking up all your time. The health and safety and the welfare of our county, our communities, and our people is one of the primary duties of the commissioners. We take that seriously, even though very often we're accused of doing opposite. I want you to know I take serious everything that comes before the board. And that, you know, many of the things that we've been talking about over the last 2 years with CEAS are things that have yet to come to pass. Many of the things that CEAS has brought up, we have taken up and we have discussed and we've made changes. They may not have been the changes or all of the changes that you have wished for, but we do take what you say seriously. And we have worked on our model decommissioning plan. And we've worked on our ensuring that the county retains and charges for all of the projects that people put forward, so that we're not having to divert tax dollars from other locations to help subsidize anyone. And we do take everything you say seriously. Of all of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails that we've got, I have read them, I have looked through them, I have tried to always keep an open mind, no matter what was being said or how pointed or how I felt about it. That is our job. We are to remain open to all new ideas and all thoughts and all threads. So thank you for your words today. And I look forward to the new year and working with our new commissioner and seeing the new direction.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. You did show up a bunch of time, but I'm fine with that too. The only things that I would address that haven't already been addressed is that I do agree with my entire heart about the customs and cultures of our area. I believe this board, when it was seated 2 years ago, could see that there were issues in our energy plans, be that the things that Commissioner Anderson mentioned with the decommissioning plan, or charging them for the county services to road haul agreements and damage the cost of the roads. And I will say, while this county may not have changed everything and given you a ban on solar projects, it has, in its mind, fixed the other issues that we all could see were a problem. So I would say this county has worked on things. One thing that I would say to both Greg and Sherry today that I've already kind of mentioned, your comments today were good. They were kind. They were civil. They were not accusatory or attacking or demeaning. They were accurate. They were factual. Those are the comments that people listen to. Those are the comments that the other citizens and the people on Zoom listen to. Those are the comments that your commissioners listen to. So I would just encourage you to try that approach going forward and see if you get a better response to your comments. But thank you both for your comments today. With that, Commissioner Anderson touched on the critical areas ordinance, what is state law and what is not state law. And I think what you're going to find, and I can only speak for myself on the new board on the new year, is that you're going to find this board wants to see what is state law and what is over and above state law, and over and above state law then becoming burdensome on the taxpayer. So I think you're going to find this board poking into things and meddling a little more to make sure that we can potentially remove overburdensome regulation on its citizens, and hopefully then in turn giving them a little more freedom. But we will find that out in the new year. It's only a week away. With that, we will call the end to citizen comment and we will move forward. Thank you, everybody. We will move forward to public hearings, public meetings, and bid openings. Go ahead, step forward. We will have first an update from staff to consider a boundary line adjustment BLA 2022-18. Go ahead with an update.
Okay, so the first one we have is a final approval for boundary line adjustment for BLA 2022-18. The applicants are Robert Knuckles and Elizabeth Petrick. Boundary line adjustment number BLA 2022-18 is proposal to adjust the common property line between parcels 04113119260400 and 0411300000010000 off of Arrow Lane. The proposed boundary line adjustment is located within a portion of section 31 and 30, Township 4, Range 11, Willamette Meridian in the Houston vicinity. The administrative review of this boundary line adjustment has been completed. Signatures have been obtained from the road, health, and planning departments, including treasurer's office. All conditions attached to the preliminary approval have been met. If the board finds that it's in the public's interest to approve this boundary line adjustment, a motion will be made to grant final approval for BLA 2022-18.
All right, thank you. Mr. Anderson, any questions, comments?
It's hard to see on my Adobe Acrobat, but it looks like they're moving that really narrow line. How many feet are they moving that? I mean, when I look at it, I was wishing they'd remove that whole little sliver.
So they removed that sliver and moved it over to the other side of the property where that access is. So the sliver, if you look up and to the northeast, that has been removed and moved over to the west side where it pokes out there. Southwest side.
Southwest side, okay. So the lot then, in essence, that the piece that had the sliver, that isn't completely moving to a new location on the
Correct.
property, is it?
Mhm.
Okay.
To a more functional area.
That's the goal. I've been looking at that. The only reason I could figure it looked like that was probably because of the county and our parcel next to it that created that in the beginning, and it's glad to see that getting fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, I do not have any other information on that, so recommendation for a motion of approval?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, we have before us boundary line adjustment BLA 2022-18. Applicants are Robert Knuckles and Elizabeth Petrick. And my motion would be to approve the boundary line adjustment.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I will step down and second that motion. All those in favor of approving boundary line adjustment BLA 2022-18 for Robert Nichols and Elizabeth Petrick, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Do you want me to go ahead and bring that over now?
Yes. And then before we present the next one and why I'm thinking about it, I will mention to staff, when we upload these in the packet, can they be shared? That way my head's not sideways on Zoom as I'm trying to look at it. Perfect, thank you, man. All right, go ahead. We'll hear from staff on boundary line adjustment BLA 22-14 in the Lyle vicinity.
Okay, so this is another one that's it's got a lot going on, but it's basically cleaning it up. It is a final approval for boundary line adjustment BLA 2022-14. The applicants are Gold and Potter. Boundary line adjustment number BLA 22-14 is proposal to adjust the common property lines between parcels at 02120358460200 and 0212-0358-460500 and parcel number 0212-0311-000-300 off of Spokane Avenue. The property boundary line adjustment is located within a portion of section 3, township 2, range 12. Of Willamette Meridian and the Lao vicinity. The administrative review of this boundary line adjustment has been completed. Signatures have been obtained from the Road, Health, Planning, and Treasurer's Office. All conditions attached to preliminary approval have been met. The board finds that it is in the public's interest to approve this boundary line adjustment, and motion will be needed to grant final approval for BLA 2022-14.
I have to chuckle as my head's to the right, and Commissioner Anderson's to the left. So.
Well, mine is to the right, what you're
Right.
seeing, but it's to the left or to my
You're
right.
on the screen, correct.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Um,
concerns?
So this would be another example that, actually. Technically I can see it. We're not moving a lot into a completely new area. Because there's 3 lots that are a piece of it, so I'm totally fine. It makes logical sense to me. I wouldn't mind one bit or the other. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
If not, before us, we have boundary line BLA 2022-14 with the applicants of Sylvia Gold and Travis Potter. And my motion would be to approve the boundary line adjustment.
All right, I will step down and second that motion. We'll have a motion on a boundary line adjustment BLA 2022-14. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you.
They get to sneak in to be the last ones of the year.
Before the prices go up.
I have this one done already if you want to grab it. Yep. All right, moving right along, we will move into a department update from Adult Probation Officer Courtney Cook. Adult Probation Officer Department Director.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Oh, this last quarter has been kind of crazy. Office has been had a whirlwind of illnesses, so we were in and out, working remotely if we could, covering each other's cases when we can. Everybody seems to be a lot better now. We're very thankful for that. Case numbers haven't really changed much. We're still seeing roughly the same amount of cases out of West, East, and Superior Court. Myself, I'm running about almost 45% caseload, and Steve is running 55% of the caseload. Makes it difficult for myself to do a lot of the administrative duties. Majority of our caseload is substance use individuals. Next in rank is mental health and then some anger, domestic violence tendencies. However, there are multiples that have more than just one of those. So they might not just have a substance issue standalone. It's also combined with mental health and anger. We're still running a problem with mental health outpatient treatment services for individuals. Right now, I have an individual who's constantly in and out of jail because I can't get him access to mental health therapy, to get on medications, to see a therapist, because it's so difficult to find a mental health therapist in our county that takes state insurance. And because he's on state insurance, they won't take him across the river. So that's a huge problem for us, and we don't have a solution right now. And so that's a definite struggle. So I'm hopeful that with the new behavioral health program that would consist of some outpatient therapy on top of the crises, because when you have crises, that's one thing, but if they don't have the ongoing support after the crisis, they're just going right back into the crisis. So we have a full MRT, DVMRT program every Tuesday at 4 p.m. I'm thrilled of it. We just had to put somebody on a wait list. Right now it's going about an hour and a half long every day or every week. And typically, depending on the week and the modules that they're presenting. But I'm very happy to report that everybody's doing really well, responding well, and reporting that they enjoy the material and they feel that it's very useful information. And we're getting people out of Spokane, Seattle, and I have one individual out of Arizona right now, virtually. Yeah, we do a hybrid. So individuals who can't make it in person can appear virtually. Our litter crew has been running well. However, last week, because of the cold weathers, we did have to cancel crew Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday, we tried, but with the juveniles, it was just way too cold. We didn't want to risk being frostbite or having any injuries. So the litter crew supervisor started working on an educational project that we're hoping to bring to the community in spring, if not probably summer, regarding litter and livestock. Lots of litter. We have lots of livestock in our community, and I think that's a huge need to address. And we're finding that it's more of a problem than we really know about, or that it's really talked about. And because of the cold weathers, we kind of tossed around the idea of, since the county does subsidize the litter crews salary and benefits that the grant doesn't support, do you see any issues with potentially allowing that crew supervisor to do what I call work crew, so that she is still able to use those hours and taking individuals out to do shoveling snow on the county sidewalks and down at the Pioneer Center or here, or even like the city sidewalks, if that was okayed by Public Works through the cities. Just trying to think creatively about other options, so we're not running into trying to frantically find a job duty for that person when the weather is bad.
I will step forward and say, just this morning, we heard from our acting public works director about the white salmon office, and that they don't have anybody to shovel sidewalks down there.
Okay.
So they do hire out to clean up snow and whatnot in the parking lot, but sounds like there and here, you're going to find a use for shoveling sidewalks. It is my opinion as one commissioner that we get, I believe it's 30 hours paid for by the litter grant and the other 5 hours is commissioner paid for out of that position. So it would only make sense to me to, you know, in the summer, I guess I would say bill the full 35 to the litter grant when you're using it. So that way in the winter, you can bill far less, even 25 or less, to be able to come up with other tasks. To me, it's the amount of dollars that the commissioners have put forward for that position are not necessarily having to pick up trash. They do need to find something else to do when the snow is covering the trash. So personally, I can't think of a better thing than shoveling walkways other than, you know, shoveling walkways for grandma down the road, which that might come into a gift of public funds problem. If you're doing it for private individuals. So if you're going to think about that regard where you're shoveling for citizens in the area, you might want to consult the prosecutor for legal counsel on potential gift of public funds. But if you're shoveling, you know, county sidewalk type things or city sidewalk, I don't think there's a big issue there, but I would still recommend you run it past the prosecutor for a legal opinion. That's one commissioner's opinion. Mr. Anderson, do you have an opinion?
So I know it's in Hood River County, not only do they shovel sidewalks, but they also go to the cemeteries and rake leaves during the fall. And that's something that benefits when there's not a lot of litter to be picked up, you're still picking up and cleaning up and people are getting put to work and they're providing their community service. I'm not sure if, you know, if we have, you know, we put in money, but is the money that we put in the match for the rest of it? And so does it have to all be litter? I think that would be a good conversation to have with ecology. And then maybe ecology has some understanding that, you know, we've got a program that's running here. You can't see the litter, but you can definitely see the sidewalks. And if we want to consider snow litter, well, then we can.
Snow is God's litter.
Well, and historically, our department, when we've had the supervision of the litter crew program, and while we monitor community service, we've never allowed our clients to do community service for citizens. And there's a couple reasons. One, it's not a nonprofit agency. It's not necessarily supervised. It can't necessarily, it could potentially be vouched for. But two, some of our individuals are not very trustworthy. And there's a huge liability and potential likelihood that they could be scoping out their homes. And so we don't, that is a concern that we've had. So that's never been on the table to shovel or do things for the community citizens. And I know that we have definitely gotten calls from the community, from seniors asking for assistance. And we refer them to the church organizations for potential like help with those things. But we would much rather that the citizens stay safe and that they're not, we're not putting them in jeopardy by doing those.
Mr. Penalty Box, you're the one sitting in the penalty box. Do you have input on the use of funds for this grant? If I remember correctly, the grant was a dollar amount, and that dollar amount only covered a 30-hour-a-week position. So the commissioners have had it up to 40 at one point, and then it dropped back down to 35. So the commissioners just cover what's over and above the grant pay. So whether they're shoveling snow or picking up trash, I don't think it would matter at the end of the day on what gets turned in on the grant or what gets paid for by the commissioners, but I'd like to have your opinion.
I don't have that detail on. I seem to recall the reason 35 to 40 was cost of benefits had to be covered, some of the work that you've done, but even paid for 40, when you realize that benefits, that's why they dropped the hours to cover in the past.
Okay.
But I don't call it.
And when the litter crew supervisor is obviously not out picking up litter, we're no by means asking for reimbursement from the grant
Right,
on
right.
those days and those hours. That would just be pulled out of, come January 1, pulled out of the adult probation budget.
Right, the way I kind of look at that budget, I guess, is two pots of money when we come up with the budget. You have the pot of money in your revenue side of that budget from the grant.
Mhm.
And you have a pot of money from the commissioner's side to cover what the grant doesn't pay.
Correct.
So to me, is I'm billing in the summer, and you're doing 35 hours of litter pickup, I would be billing the whole 35 hours to that bar's number.
Which is what we're doing now.
And that should leave you a fund balance in commissioner's pool for shovel snow or what have you, if that all works out. But I would check with HR and just make sure everything's a hunky dory. Other than that, it sounds like you have a yes.
Okay, I just wanted to, just in case somebody saw something I didn't see, I just wanted to bring it up to everybody and see if anybody had any thoughts on it.
Right, great idea. You got to keep the employee working and you, kind of hard to pick up trash when it's covered with snow.
Correct.
Yeah.
And just
Can I
quick,
pause you real quick?
absolutely.
Are we gonna have bills and payroll today? I haven't seen anything. And if you want to call over there and ask why we're continuing on. Okay, continuing.
October, November, and December so far, the litter crew has cleaned up 64 miles
Oh, wow.
and has picked up 9,780 pounds of litter. So that is our current report for this quarter. Although we have litter crew scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday still, so there'll be a few more pounds of litter picked up, hopefully.
I am encouraged that you canceled when it was 5 degrees with a minus wind chill. Because as the commissioner that sits on our insurance board and risk management, I was thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, you give some kid frostbite, county gets sued, you know?
Yeah.
So I was a little worried. So I was very encouraged when you did that.
Courtney, do we have last year's fourth quarter as well, so we can see what the difference in the miles and the pounds are?
I didn't pull last year's. All I have is, well, actually, I do. So. Yep, right here. Okay, so last October, November, December, they picked up 46 miles cleaned and 1,850 pounds of litter. So
Thank you.
we
Yeah.
picked up about 8,000 more than last year.
I think the difference with that is last year you had one person, the litter crew supervisor, picking up by themselves some days. And now you have it as a darn near full-time job with probation, youth staff and adult staff or not staff, but yeah, you have far more hands picking up trash, which makes far more pounds.
Mhm.
Interesting, all good news. Other than my bad news I already gave you.
Yes. So that, just for heads up, for this next upcoming year, I am looking at one of my case managers retiring. So that's gonna be towards the end of October. That's
you going-
projected.
Are you going to be able to hire someone and they just take right over? Or are you thinking
Not at
you
all.
might need to hire someone a month, 2, 3 months, whatever your idea is before to get them cross-trained to take over when that person retires?
My request will be to have somebody hired 3 months in advance, so that Steve can help train them before he retires. Just because with my full schedule plus admin duties, I just don't have the time to do when he leaves, to do his schedule, his calendar, my calendar, plus train somebody new, because I wouldn't have any other staff to help train that person. And of course, I would have requested this in the 2023 budget, had I known that this was coming. I didn't know that this was coming until about last month. So that will be coming at some point. I was hopeful for some of the opioid monies, but to help out with that transition, but that doesn't look like it's really going to happen. So at this point, so we'll see where things go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming you're not looking for a yes or a no vote on hiring the person 3 months early. You're gonna come back to us at a later date.
I will,
If that's your
correct.
ask at a later date.
I will make that ask at a later date, but I just wanted to bring that to you so you're aware of it ahead of time. Yes, sir.
To the mic.
I
sir.
will need a supplemental budget for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You just need to put a mic on him at all times.
Yeah. I need to put a mic back in the penalty box.
That's
Okay.
all I have for a report today, unless you have any questions.
Well, Courtney, thank you so much for giving us the long lead time and heads up so that we can think about that budget wise for next year. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And I know how difficult it is to replace somebody who's been there for so many years. And so the longer we can get, the faster the turnaround and the better the training is going to be. So hopefully there's enough of that opioid money to cover some of that. But we're going to have to.
Yeah. Yeah, let's think on that one, come up with your own thinking and ideas and whatnot, and then come forward later and make a recommendation.
Will do.
All right. Well, thank you, ma'am, for the
Thank you.
update.
Yes.
Keep up the good work and Happy New Year.
You too.
All right, moving forward. We were supposed to have Public Health Director Aaron Quinn updating us on a public health officer, but that is no longer going to happen. We can move forward with consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the consent agenda with all 15 items.
I would step down and second that motion. There's a motion before us to approve the consent agenda with all 15 items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Here's a question for you, Mr. Anderson. Procedurally, can the
You
chair?
can step down and make the motion.
That's what I was gonna ask. It's just a little weird, but since I'm the only one here. I will step down and make the motion to pay the bills. I move the accounts payable warrants in the amount of $1,022,522.10. And the payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $1,102,902.95 for the date ending December 27th, 2022 be paid.
I will second the motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor of paying the bills, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. You wanna Siggy on that one? Off into board pending. Any board pending?
I stated what I needed to this morning.
Right? Okay, no board pending. I don't know if we're gonna have a prosecutor on for an executive. I don't see one.
I don't see him.
I don't see it either. Well, let's hope it happens next week then. Anything else for the good of the order?
None here, sir.
Nothing. I'm seeing nothing.
I would just like to say thank you. This is the last meeting of the year and it has been a long and exhausting at times, but otherwise enjoyable year. And I would like to thank you for your time and efforts, Commissioner Christopher, and for taking over as chairman today. And I look forward to next week where our new commissioner is seated with us.
I would agree with that, sir. Next week is a new week for everybody. I'm excited and encouraged to see where we go from here. With that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we adjourn the meeting.
I would step down and second that motion. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting until next week, we have no radio or workshop scheduled for this week. Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.